Welcome, everyone, to episode 22 of the Pinnacle Combat Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Jim. Dan, it's Monday. It's a new week, new you. How you feeling?
Jim, new week, new me, and I'm feeling pretty good, dude. I feel completely different. I feel like a new person from last week.
That's good. That's good.
No, I don't. I feel not at all different.
Yeah.
But I'm good, man. How are you?
Good. I'm all right. A little tired, but it was kind of a long weekend, you know. Did a little bit of drinking, but we're back. So,
Oh yeah,
man,
yeah, dude.
a lot has happened over the weekend, huh? We got some big
Yes.
fights. I figured we'd start with some boxing talk because we talked about this fight the other day in our pre-episode, but Terrence Crawford defeated Israil Madrimov for his 4th division title, and it was a pretty close fight. I think a lot of us thought it was going to be pretty one-sided. Crawford was a huge favorite to win that fight, obviously, but Madrimov held his ground, and he's a great fighter. And I know we were talking about this before we hit record, but I agree with you. This could be his lesson, Madrimov. And I like you said, I think it'd be fun to watch his next 3 or 4 fights and see how he does. But what did you think of the fight from what you remember?
100%, dude. Yeah, no, it's true because that's what I was saying to you before we started. It's like you could be looking at one of the next names at that division or in that, because guy's young. You never know what weight class he's going to end up in as far as the one he's going to really focus on. As part of maybe the majority of the fights in his career are at. But as far as for him, you can't measure the amount of rub he's going to get just from being in that ring with that caliber of fighter and holding your own for the entire fight and remaining dangerous for the entire fight in a close fight.
Yeah,
So
for
it's
sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
But what I was saying to you before was it might be a little over the top, but I think if you're the first person that takes Terrence Crawford to a decision, I think ever or in a long time. I'm not sure if it's one or the other, but I think it might be ever. Because I think he's pretty much stopped everyone. But
Yeah,
it's been for a while.
He had an 11-fight knockout streak. So
it may as well be forever.
Yeah.
That's crazy. At that level to be stopping everyone.
Yeah.
But as far as if you're the first person that's made it to a decision in however long against a guy like Crawford, who's I'm telling man, that dude I'm absolutely so high on, and that hasn't changed. But for him, it's that could be your Canelo Floyd Mayweather fight. That's it's just you getting the rub, you understand it, you learn lessons, you take it from there, and then from there your confidence has skyrocketed because you're I've already been in there with the best person at that time, which was Floyd then, and then now. I mean, people could make an argument, but I think pound for pound, it's you're either going Canelo or Crawford. So it's
Yeah, and they've been talking about trying to get that matchup.
I wonder how possible it is.
Well, he's obviously asked about it, and he's like, well, if the money's right, the money's right. So, and money talks. And since Saudi Arabia has been a big promoter for a lot of these fights now, even that one the other night. If they want to see it, they'll put the money up, and I'm sure they'll.
So that's Saudi money, baby.
Exactly.
Let me show you this. Yep.
So that might be a possibility now with the Saudi money involved and all that. So that'd be a great fight. I would love. I'd definitely be buying that fight.
So can I ask you can you Google a quick just to see what weight Crawford has his belts at, and then what weight Canelo's usually at? Because I still think they're quite a bit though. I want to say Canelo's in this 160s, higher 160s.
Oh yeah, we tried to talk
Crawford's
about this.
Essentially a 155er, right? In a lot of ways, at the weight he's at, and most of them.
So
I shouldn't say. I don't really know.
Hold on, let me open up a new tab here.
Yeah, that was the one thing I was curious about because I'm like, okay, so there's almost like there's a level of these guys being too not I shouldn't even say naturally. I don't know how to word it, but the guys aren't too equal in a weight where they naturally fight at, where it wouldn't be to a detriment to either one. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like that was always what we would talk about, whether it be GSP and like Anderson Silva back in the day. Like we were like, what would be the weight where it'd be like it would be okay? Because Anderson Silva's a big dude, so it's like, could he really even go down much? How much would you have? Like
So
I'm talking about for
Canelo.
like an optimal fight.
So Canelo. He just fought his last two fights were at super middleweight,
Hmm.
which is super middleweight contested between middleweight and light heavyweight divisions, in which boxers can weigh between 160 and 168.
Okay, okay,
And then
okay.
Crawford
That's
last night or the other night, he fought light middleweight. So that is light middleweight is also known as junior middleweight or super welterweight. Let's see
what the
oh
fuck are we doing?
150,
These superheroes are the way.
147 to 154. So it's like a 10-pound difference ish.
So I would say,
10 to 15.
so I would say if they were like, all right, like 162. I don't know if 160 might be. I mean, that's what the weight class says for what Canelo's at. But I wonder if he probably is never near that. I would imagine he's closer to the 168 side. So,
Yeah, probably.
um, like without knowing any of that for sure, I wonder if, I mean, it'd be nice if they could meet at 160. Um, but I would imagine that wouldn't happen.
Well,
But
also if they're
maybe
gonna fight,
162.
um, who would put up a belt? I mean, if it depends, I guess it depends on the weight, right? Or would they?
All the belts, Jim, all the belts. Just gotta say it
All
like
the
the more,
belts, lad. I'm
all
coming for
the belts, lad. Dude, how crazy was that picture I sent you, dude? I was like, hey, Facebook, AI, or Meta, or whatever the hell you are these days on Instagram. I don't know what you are, but send me a picture of the lads, and I sent you that. It was all AI generated. That's
Oh,
wild
really? I didn't know
for the
that.
England card. Yeah, dude, that's
That's
all
funny.
AI generated. That's not a real picture. I was like,
That's
send them a
crazy.
picture of the lads, and just sent you a picture of four Irish gentlemen, English gentlemen, AI generated. But anyway, what were we talking about?
Canelo versus Crawford.
Yeah, I think I wish it would be at 160, but I wonder what it'll end up being at. But at least it's that's a meetable weight,
Yeah,
especially
for sure.
because the weight that you compete at is 160 to 168. So you're already in that. So then you're probably thinking if you're Crawford, you're like, I'll just jump in that 160 to 168. And then I don't care if you're 168, I'll be 164. Like that's the weight's what it is. So I mean, 8 pounds is a lot for a weight class, but if
Yeah.
you're that's why these guys are great. Like smaller than the guy, bigger than the guy, like meeting at whatever weight, like you just dare to be great. Like you've already done it all. What else excites you at this stage? And that excites him.
Yeah, for
A
sure.
fight against everyone's looking at as the guy in boxing. He's like, all right. So then if I knock him off, there's no one else that can say anything else,
Yeah, then
right?
there's no
So
questions. Yep.
yeah. So it's like, why wouldn't you want that? That's why it's awesome. And that's why it was awesome that he openly came out and that, that's what would be cool if Rogan gets Canelo on too before that fight ends up happening.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, for sure.
It'd be awesome because I know he speaks English. I just don't know if it's fluent, but it's like just throw a translator in there. The podcast would be great. It'd be great, dude. Like it'd be awesome to have a Canelo one. Just to hear him talk about, you know what I mean? Like Rogan will ask him about, what was that like again with Floyd when you were like he was young then. So it's like, plus the weight cut and all that. Like that'd be a really interesting podcast.
Yeah, I'd love to listen to that, an interview with him. He's fascinating. They should do like a documentary, unless they have already, and I haven't seen it. But I'd love to see a
He's
documentary
incredible, man.
about him. Yeah,
He's incredible. So it'd be, he might have a little bit too much power for Crawford, but it's like that's there's only one way to find out.
exactly.
And it's like you never know. Crawford could just paint a masterpiece and not be there. Because if you're not there to get hit, doesn't matter how hard you throw those punches.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if he's not there, so you just never know. You just never know. So, like, I love watching Crawford fight. Like I said, he's so comfortable throwing with either hand, with power, and he's so good. That's why I was impressed by. I want to rewatch that fight now. It's on Top Rank. I'll rewatch it, but because Madrimov, man, was it Israil Madrimov?
Yep. Yep.
Got to give him respect, man, because that dude like I said, he remained dangerous the whole fight, which a lot of times those guys, when they're like, I mean, I understand, granted it was a closer fight, but if you're fighting a guy like that, you might lose concentration, you might lose focus, you might lose confidence at some point in that fight. It didn't seem that he lost any of that. So he showed a great account of himself. Like we talked about, be looking forward to seeing. I wish they'd promote him better because maybe I'm not looking in the right spots, but a lot of times some of these boxing names you don't really hear about the next few fights after these big names.
Yeah.
But
You kind
it'd be
of have
nice
to go seek it out. Yeah.
Yeah, we should. So like the next few fights for him will be very interesting.
Also,
'Cause I think,
what I try to do on the Instagram and stuff is when I look at the cards and I'm impressed with a fighter, I'll follow them
Yep.
on Instagram, and then I'll like post some of their stories and post on our story, and then eventually when they have another fight, they'll post something and I'll see it and go, oh yeah, I remember that guy. Then
yeah,
I'll have a
dude.
date, just like. Well, we can get into this now, but they've announced a bunch of fights for UFC. But there was this morning I saw an announcement by that dude we've talked about before, the guy like Xander Zayas. He has a new fight
Yep.
September 26th. So that'll be good. I look forward to that because I like him a lot. But why don't we
Yeah,
get
he's
into?
sharp, dude.
Yeah, he's great. Let's get into some of the UFC announcements that they made this week. We'll start with
Yeah.
UFC 307, which is going to be in Salt Lake City. The past two cards from Salt Lake City have been great, so they stacked this one. All the pay-per-views have been stacked this year, obviously, but and I don't think they have a main event yet. And I mentioned a rumor that I heard. I'm not sure how true it is, but we won't talk about that because I don't like to announce things until they're set in stone.
Sure. I'm sorry. What card are you talking about right now, Jim? I'm sorry, I didn't hear the beginning.
307 from Salt Lake City.
307. Okay. I'm sorry. Yep. 307.
So right now, what they have is this it? Yeah. Aljamain Sterling versus Evloev. Is that how you
Was
say
it
it?
Mavlov?
Mavzar Evloev.
Mobzar Evlo? How do you pronounce his last name?
Evloev.
Dude, he's very good.
Maybe?
He came over from like PFL or somewhere.
And he's 18-0.
He is this is a glue trap of a grappler, dude. He's so good.
Oh, I like glue trap. That's good. I like that.
Dude, I'll call him a glue stick. Would you know? He probably wouldn't like that. Dude, you're a glue stick. He'd be like, what the fuck you call me? You called me glue stick?
They make glue out of from horse hooves. Did you know that?
Jesus Christ. Is that why it's Elmer's and you see that fucking goofy thing on there?
Maybe that's what the horse's name was, Elmer. That makes sense.
Unreal.
Who knows?
This is what it's been the whole time, huh?
Another fight is Kevin Holland and Chris Curtis. That should be pretty good. That's a good matchup.
I saw him and Sean Strickland are on the outs. What happened? I wonder what happened with that.
Oh, Chris Curtis?
Yeah, they're not training partners anymore.
Oh, really? That must have been pretty recent then. I wonder what happened.
Yeah, I don't know. I have to look it up. I'll have better information next time, but when you mentioned the name, yeah, I heard they parted ways for whatever reason. I don't know. I mean, Strickland's kind of a volatile guy, so
yeah, he's
you tend to think it's on his end, whatever.
Yeah, because Chris Curtis seems like a sweetheart of a guy.
He seems like so.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so you never know, but it's unfortunate either way because they seem like they kind of just worked well together. I'm sure they had great sessions together, I'm sure they only made each other better. So
Yeah, for
it
sure.
sucks. It is what it is. It could be better for both.
Yep. Next fight we have is Jose Aldo is coming back after an amazing performance against. He's going to be fighting Mario Bautista. That should be a really good fight.
Against Jonathan Martinez, dude, I was worried about that fight. So once I see him in with a guy like that dangerous, not to take anything away from Mario Bautista because he's very dangerous. So he could easily win this fight by however method, by stoppage. But when you saw Aldo handle a young, hungry lion like Jonathan Martinez is dangerous, dude.
Yeah, for sure.
You're going to see him put a hurting on a bunch of people in UFC at that weight. He was a guy that I was very high on when I saw early, and he's going to be he's a mainstay in the UFC. So he's very talented. So I'm looking. I feel bad for the next opponents, but that dude, yeah, he is. So when I saw that, so basically, long-winded way of saying when I saw that, I just knew, especially mixed with just Aldo walking away and really putting a lot of work in his boxing. His hands were always fine. They were always good, but it's not always about that. It's more about an MMA guy getting like legitimate boxing footwork and legitimate like just different looks.
Yeah,
I feel like that's way more important than just throwing your hands around, because anyone can do that. It's all about the footwork, being in the right spot, the right time, throwing the right shot where it should be, as opposed to, you know what I mean, like where you should throw it, as opposed to where the head is, where you think the head's gonna be. Like it's all like these guys are just like that's the type of stuff that like as you watch you just people always think that you're watching just to watch people get hurt. I'm like, no, I'm watching for all the intricacies of it, like the whole like how you watch all these feints and what you get out of it, and then like they set them to the body and they go that like I'm watching all that. So every time I'm watching it live, when I missed it, and then someone's like, oh, he was setting that up, I'm like, I want to rewatch it and see what I missed, so that way I don't miss it again. So it's like,
yeah, and that's what makes
I'm on that type of.
That's what makes those guys like we talked about before, like Mighty Mouse and Dan Hardy, where they go over fights and they really look into everything. That's what makes it those episodes like so exciting. And you're like, oh shit, you know what? I didn't see that, but I'm not a professional fighter. But when you do see stuff like that and they point
by
it
the
out,
longest of shots, neither one of us have nothing. So it's like, but it's
but then
when
you
we
notice
both
things.
watch this to be young, like we've seen so much, like it doesn't. Us knowing what we're watching and us knowing when we could predict things or see things doesn't mean that we can apply it. It just means that I've been watching it for 20 years, so yeah, I should probably pick up something by now.
Exactly, right?
It doesn't mean that I could go out there and apply it physically. It just means that I know what I'm seeing. That's all. Like, it's like, but it's like that's what I like to watch.
A perfect example is like a new fan who doesn't know shit about like ground, like jujitsu and the positioning and stuff. But me and you watching it, or anyone listening to this, if you're a fan of UFC or MMA, like what's a good and bad position on the ground. You might not be able to tell like Rogan's, he's like, oh, he needs to put his hand here, he needs to get his head on the other side, or you might not be able to do that to that extent, but you can tell when someone's in trouble and when they're trying to set something up and be like, hey, you got to watch out for that arm. If he gets his wrist free, that's it. Like the Paddy Pimblett fight, he
was dangerous on the ground so instantly.
And you could just tell how tight it was.
He stopped mouse on there. Yeah. But it's also like, but watching that long, so that it's always the arm triangle one. So when you have an arm triangle, you just have to swing over to the side that you have the arm triangle.
Yeah.
If you're on the opposite side of it, you're not going to generate the amount of, but if you have it on, like if you have the arm triangle between his head and his left arm, say, you have to be on that side.
You have to be on the left side. Yeah.
Exactly. Like if you're looking at it like,
But then the only
which
thing
is
that
like
could
more,
screw
if you're looking
that
at it
up,
on the TV, it's the right side, but it's the left side. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
his left side.
you have to be on that side where the hold is.
Yeah.
And then you see instantly, then they really put the pressure down. But that doesn't mean that we can apply it to someone, because people know how to get out of things. But we just know those little things like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I don't like arm bars, dude. I don't like watching them. That's the one that I don't like. I always hate it. because I always feel like I'm about to watch someone's arm break. So I hate that. I hate
Oh, I know,
watching those
right?
ones.
Yeah, it's tough.
So I don't, yeah, but that one don't really. But I mean, as far as the like, I don't know, the rear naked choke. I feel like a lot of the times that's just the quicker person to the position gets that one. So
Yeah.
you see that all the time. You've seen that in fights. You've seen that in so many different fights. I want to say during a scramble where didn't GSP tap Matthews for rear naked choke?
I think so.
No, it was an arm bar.
Well, my fastest one was
I'm thinking of the wrong one.
Cowboy
Yeah, it's a great
and
one. That's a
Barboza.
great example. That's a great example. That's a better one because he kind of hurt him with the jab, then went straight to the choke.
It took him like a
And you're
half a
talking about a guy
second.
like Edson Barboza. Talking about a guy like Edson Barboza though. That's talking about taking the opportunity that's given to you, that split second where he's somewhat stunned.
Yep.
Because otherwise, Barboza's he's gonna fight the hands right away and he's gonna be fine. But just the fact that you got it, that split, dude, that's a great example. Yeah, that was
But
a crazy win. I was so worried about that fight because I'm a
yeah.
big Cowboy fan.
Yeah,
So
me too.
yeah,
I remember it like it was last night. I jumped
it's
out of
only
my
because
bed and yelled. I was like, "What? Oh my god!" And I'm by
oh,
myself in my room. My parents were probably like, "What the hell's going on up there?"
that was a great fight. Yeah, I was always a big Cowboy fan. That
Yeah.
dude's the man.
Well, let's get back to these fights though. In 307, I got a couple more big ones. We got Kayla Harrison's back. She's going to be fighting Ketlin Vieira, which is most likely going to be a title eliminator fight for number one contender. So that's
Makes
a
sense.
huge one. Then we have Carla Esparza and Tisha Pennington. That should be good. And then I
Yeah,
saw a rumor that they may be doing the other Raquel Pennington against who was it? What's that woman's name? The old champ there that beat
the old champ
Nunez, I think.
Amanda Nunes. She's back.
No, no, no. Who beat Amanda Nunez
Oh shit, I
with
gotta
the
say.
jabs? Remember?
Um,
What was her name? I forget her name. How am I forgetting?
Jermaine Durandame.
No,
Who beat her with a jab? I don't remember this person.
I think it was a Mexican girl.
Oh, Aldana. She's a bigger fighter. I'm just throwing out absolute Hail Marys at this point. I don't remember
I
this
got. It.
fight.
I'm looking up her. I'm looking up
Okay.
her record here.
Because
Oh,
honestly, when I saw Amanda Nunes on the like the I just feel like a lot of these fighters when they're at that level, it sounds messed up, but I think they get not
oh,
bored. They're not
Ju-
motivated.
Juliana Pena.
Pain, yes, yes. Okay. Because she had lost by via stoppage the first time they had fought. So that's a little different. Okay. All right. 'Cause
Yeah.
she
So
had,
Juliana Pena. I
was it rear
heard.
naked?
Yeah, rear naked choke. Yeah. I heard Juliana Pena is gonna fight Raquel Pennington for the title,
Okay.
but that's a rumor. And there's another rumor that they're trying to get potentially Volkanovski versus Gaethje for the main event, which would be
Dude,
insane.
I told my dad about that tonight when I saw him. He just looked at me. Oh shit! Like yeah, yeah. See, you know. That's just like who's gonna have a problem with that fight?
I know, right?
Anyone but that. I don't even care what weight it's at. It's gonna be 155, but like, who cares, man? That's a great fight.
Yeah,
Sign me up.
that's all fireworks right there. That's gonna be amazing if that is true. I saw that. I can't remember where I saw that, but it wasn't like an official. It seemed like it was a clickbaity type of. But it would
Sure,
make
sure.
sense for them to, it makes sense that Volkanovski wants to move up.
But
And yeah, but who knows?
also talking about on the heels of like just well right at the end of the most recent ABC card. Talk about a phenomenal ABC. Imagine that main event. Like yeah, we're gonna throw out an ABC one in October. Here you go.
Yeah,
Volkanovski, Gaethje. You're welcome. 5 rounds. ABC.
that'd be crazy.
Shortened commercials or whatever they try to say it is, but they're gonna get you, Jim. They're gonna show you laundry detergent. in the middle of a championship fight. You're like, what the fuck, man? Like, you know, I'd rather hear the corner, dude. Can I pay you money so I can hear
I
that?
know, right? Yeah,
Like,
for
I'd
sure.
rather hear the corner. It takes me out of the fight when they're like just a teddy bear on top of a dryer. I'm like, what the fuck? There's a fight going on, dude. I
It's
want to
always
watch that.
that new Burger King. Have it your
Yeah,
way. You rule,
yeah.
and I just want to throw something at the TV.
And Burger King's been falling off. They've fallen off for.
Yeah.
They've been falling off for years. Okay, so you got a problem with it,
All right, let's get to some
dude?
more.
I'll fight the Burger King. You know. Sorry, I've had a couple. Dude. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
We got some more announcements. UFC 308 in October. I think that one's in October, right? Yeah, October
Yes,
26th.
towards the end.
Um,
Yeah.
it's going to be again in Abu Dhabi at the same arena from the other night. Main event: Ilya Taporia versus Max Holloway for the featherweight strap.
Jesus Christ.
That's going to be awesome. And I just saw today, I don't know if you saw in the story that I posted, but Max Holloway has only lost to one featherweight fighter in the last 11 years. Obviously, that being
Wow.
Volkanovski.
Yeah,
Isn't that nuts?
that's crazy, dude.
Co-main event, the one we thought we were never going to see. Robert Whittaker versus Khamzat Chimaev. Let's
So
just
happy they're
hope
rebooking it.
let's just hope Chimaev shows up this time. And then we got two big
Yep.
boys, Cyril Gane and Alexander Volkov. That should be awesome.
Hell
And
yeah.
then this one was kind of a little curveball. Magomed Ankalaev is going to fight Alexander Rakic. I say curveball because Ankalaev was supposed to be the next in line for the light heavyweight championship against Pereira. But now
Yep.
apparently that's not happening. So that opens up this whole narrative of the potential fight between Aspinall and Pereira, which is what Aspinall, mentioned in his post-fight press conference, that he's open to doing that fight on the same card as the John Jones-Stipe fight in November. So I don't know, but that's interesting. Some other fights. Leroy Murphy is fighting Dan Ige. That should be awesome. Jeff Neal versus Dos Anjos. That's going to be great. And I see two other ones here. Ruzabayov? Is that how you say it?
Oh,
Is that how you say
but
it?
Ruzbayev?
Yeah,
That like
Ruzbayov?
6'4" welterweight dude.
I think so.
He's a beast, man.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah. He's fighting Fakhretdinov? Renat Fakhretdinov? Does that ring a bell? He's from Russia.
Yes. Who did he fight recently? He just fought someone notable recently.
Oh, let me see. Show
It
me
was,
fight
it was on a
history.
recent card in the last, like, I would even say a month or two.
Oh, he was on the other ABC card. He fought Nicholas Dalby.
Okay, yes, yeah, that was a good fight. Yeah, no, he's a good top fighter. I'm sorry, who's it? Who's he up against?
He's against Ruzbayov.
Oh, that's a tough fight. Okay.
Yeah, that's
Um,
gonna be a good one. And yeah,
yeah,
I mean 308, man. It's gonna be those are some banger. That whole card's a
those are
banger card. It's gonna be amazing.
those are big fights. I'm looking forward to that one. I mean, just those two, man, just the top two.
Yeah,
That's price of admission for me.
same. Yeah,
Uh, so we'll see what they do with that. But I mean, Lerone Murphy and Ige, I really want to see how that goes down. That's interesting. So they're both in their primes, um, or at least feeling in the best. I mean, they're both 33, man. They're both right there, like in their best physical primes, which I think I think that early 30s
yeah. And
is
Murphy's
one of the more
undefeated.
optimal. 'Cause you get a mix of the experience with you still have that youth, um, But it's obviously, you lose it quick as you go, but you can't tell that to certain guys. You figure a guy like what's Dos Anjos?
Oh
He's
yeah,
39, man. He has not really fought like a 30, 37 or 38-year-old in his previous fights. Uh, so it's like you just don't know. Certain guys peak at different times, and granted, it's not it's not that common for a guy at a smaller weight to peak at an older age. You tend to see that at heavyweight, a la, which is still, albeit rare, but like a la like Rudy Couture
yeah,
started fighting to
yep,
like almost 50, but at a high level too. It's not like he was fighting. Like, dude, he's in the UFC at 47,
yeah,
48, fighting the best there is to offer. So it's like so at that weight, that's even more impressive. I feel at smaller weights
yeah, for sure.
to be that,
Because you're gonna lose speed too. Like speed's probably one of the first things that goes. I would guess. And all these young kids are just super quick. You
I would
know.
think even the reaction, like even though your reaction's like a top level, um, if you're fighting against like 20, 26 and in his prime, like absolutely beginning peaking prime,
Yeah.
um, your reaction time might show, as opposed to against a bunch of other people in the UFC who are also veterans, but they're all, it's a different, like, there's certain outliers that you fight that are, especially all these younger guys that are coming in, who it's like they have these full records and they're great records, and you feel like they've already been tested. It seems like they do, and their UFC debut doesn't even look like they have any jitters, and they look like they go full three without gassing. It's like
Yeah.
the whole thing's changed.
Yeah, for
Where you
sure.
start this, you know what I mean? You're not really seeing those things anymore.
It's
Like these
crazy.
guys are just ready for the UFC. It's like it's awesome, you know.
Well, yeah. So those are some announcements that were done this week. But let's get into the card that was Saturday night. I know there wasn't a lot of finishes, but they were all great fights, like great matchups, pretty close for the most part.
They were.
Let's
Yeah.
start right at the main event. Corey Sandhagen and Umar Nurmagomedov. What did you think, just right off the bat?
Right off the bat, just Umar's just he just does everything so well. He's just going to be tough because you're always going to be wondering what he wants to do because he's so good at everything. He can just kind of dictate and choose how he wants to fight certain fights, and you might not even know how. Like there's certain guys that might be well rounded. You don't really know how he's going to approach the fight, as opposed to maybe there's certain ways you'll know if you're purely a striker, he's going to want to take you down more often. But he's so good on the feet. I just don't know if he needs. Like I'm actually kind of looking forward to it, seeing how him and O'Malley, like I'd love to see how that plays out. So it's almost like, as much as I would love to see a Sandhagen O'Malley fight. I mean, and I know people have said like maybe it's Sandhagen's last real shot, which I don't necessarily agree because he's not really old. Um, but as far as Nurmagomedov, I want to see Umar fight this version of Sean O'Malley at his peak time. Like I feel like they're both peaking
Yeah,
in the
for sure.
best of their respective careers. So it's like this. I want to see this fight happen now. Um, I'm excited to see that fight.
That's gonna be a tough fight for O'Malley, man.
Very much so because he's tough to deal with, man. Because he can strike. Like he can truly strike. So you just wonder if O'Malley can keep on the feet, his power could be the difference.
Yeah,
Because whether you like him or not, he has true knockout power, and that's not something you train and drill to get.
yeah, for
He
sure.
has it.
Yeah,
Yep. So that's a natural thing. So
but just like
I would love
Khabib,
to see that
man,
fight.
just like Khabib, if he gets a hold of you, you're going down. Like nine
Yeah,
times out of
yeah,
10, you're going down. And Corey did a great job for the most part defensively in that fight. And I think Corey did a great job of controlling the center of the octagon and not putting his back against the cage, which is what a lot of strikers do with wrestlers, unfortunately.
sure.
I
Yeah.
think I think Corey could have been a little bit more aggressive on the stand-up. But Umar just did a really great job of, like, within a minute left, every round he went for the takedown and almost got it every time. It's like he knew that he had to end every round in a positive note for himself and a positive light for the judges, if nothing else. Because, besides that, most of the rounds were somewhat close in terms of the striking and what was landing and everything for both guys. But I think literally, I would say 2 or 3 rounds were probably won for Umar just by taking him down the last minute and having a positive light at the end of the round for the judges,
Yeah.
But that's what you have to do. That's a good game plan. I mean, I understand, time management and trying to figure out when and why you should do things that's a big part of the game plans that they put together. So, I mean, come on, man. Like, he's a Nurmagomedov. I think I posted something the other day. Between the 3 of them, they're 64-0 now.
Crazy.
So Umar's what, 18-0? Khabib was 29-0, and then who's the other one? What's his name? I forget. But yeah, they're all undefeated.
It's Usman.
Yeah.
Usman Nurmagomedov. Yeah.
But yeah, he played the perfect game plan, and it worked out, and he looks great. And I guess he's going to skyrocket to the top from number 10. Because he beat the number 2 Sandhagen, he's going to get the title shot, and we'll see.
It doesn't really matter where he lands at this point, because he'll be next.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to be there.
They could put him at 4, it won't matter.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, deciding on, depending on what happens with Merab at the Sphere and everything, it's either going to be him and O'Malley or him and Merab. Either way, I think they're both great fights. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I really hope O'Malley beats Merab, because I think there's so much more of a difficult fight and difficult puzzle for Umar as opposed to Merab.
Yeah.
I don't think Umar has a problem with him.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Because everywhere Merab is where he's trying to be his strengths, Umar, other than maybe the cardio and the pace, that's probably the only edge I give Merab. So that'd be a tough fight for Merab.
Yeah.
If you can't physically, that's why that fight's so intriguing. You can't physically hurt a guy like Umar. He's going to be able to just absolutely impose his will in any way he sees fit. But O'Malley's the ability to knock you out with hands and feet really has to keep him. He has to mind his P's and Q's the whole fight. So that's interesting. I like that matchup.
Yeah, that's exciting. Yeah, I agree. Let's get into the co-main event. Shara Bullet defeated Mikhail. This is going to be tough. Oleksiejczuk. Yes.
Yeah. Jim, I told you, pretend in the middle and everything. You just got to end it. You got to end it strong,
What?
Oleksiejczuk. Oleksiejczuk.
Yeah.
Oleksiejczuk. Oleksiejczuk. I said it right?
Yeah. That fight was great, actually. At first, I thought Shara Bullet was in trouble, but he fought a perfect, defensive, striking bout, and I think his power and his just everything was just a little too much for Mikhail. But yeah, I mean, they got fight of the night, so they got the bonuses. It was a great fight, but Shara's back was against the cage the whole time. Mikhail was just walking him down the whole fight, but he just couldn't take what Shara was dishing out. That's how I took it.
Yeah.
What did
he looked like the guy that was coming down a weight. He looked like he was the bigger guy, kind of more like you said, walking him down. But Shara Bullet, man, he's quick, man. He really gets that jab off well, and then he throws kicks so dangerous that I feel like sometimes he just kind of jabs you into a spot he wants to throw a kick at. And, he throws some crazy, he's just so dangerous, especially for someone. It's so amazing for someone with one eye.
I know,
to
right?
be able to.
We keep saying that every time we see him fight. He's got one eye.
It's true, man. Got one eye. So it's like that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you never know. Maybe the eye has the ability to really pick up the periphery even more so on one eye. But
He has a
I
super
mean,
eye.
yeah, right. Imagine if like the UFC could just like center the eye more,
Right in
just
the middle of his
surgically,
forehead.
just surgically implant it, take out the other ones. Yeah, you know what his name will be. You
Cyclops.
know his nickname will be. Yeah, hell yeah, dude. Shara, Cyclops, Magomedov. And you're like watching this guy, and he just has one eye. Dude, that alone would scare you.
Let's move to the next one. We got Marlon Chito Vera. This is what we were looking forward to the most. Marlon Vera and Davidson Figueiredo. Um, Not as exciting of a fight as I thought it would be, but it was a good fight though. What did you think of the fight?
What did you for before? What would you expect?
I
Just more
thought
volume, right?
I thought it was going to be more volume. I thought Figueiredo was going to push the pace a lot more than he did.
He should have.
Um, and I thought Cheeto was going to push the pace more than he did too.
He also should have. Yeah, no, I think both probably. I think maybe with that fight, you just had two guys that genuinely have some pretty good, like, pretty damn good knockout power at that weight. So maybe they were both just respectable of
Yeah,
that. That was the only thing I could think of because I was expecting the same thing for like you said. Um, just more volume from each guy, but because there really, I mean, it wasn't a ton of like all things considered, it wasn't a ton of strikes in the 3 round fight.
yeah, I know. Yeah, they weren't really. I don't know.
They
Yeah,
both kind of they both kind of hung around 60 significant strikes landed in the fight. I just maybe we had just too high of hopes for the fight. Who knows? There's a lot of variables, but I think that might be one of the leading ones. I think it might have been. They both are generally capable of knocking out whoever they're fighting at that moment. So maybe when they both kind of got in there with each other, that kind of changed the certain strikes they felt like they get off as opposed to against guys they know might not make them pay for it as dearly. I
yeah,
think
yeah,
these
yeah.
guys do like Figueiredo's coming up from 125, but that dude he really should have been at 135 because he can hang with 135ers all day long. I think he's just as big. He hits just as hard. He's fine. There's not many he's not gonna have a problem with. Put it that way. Like in that weight.
And he looked like death trying to get down to 125.
Yeah, it's good for him, man.
Yeah, this
He's
is
not a
good.
small dude. He's not like he's listed at 5'5". I would challenge that dude. I really would. I didn't see a 3 inch reach. I didn't see a 3 inch height advantage from those two, but I could be wrong. But either way, he's not a small dude for 135 in any stretch, I think, when you watch him in there with guys. Because Cheeto's a pretty big 135. He's a good size 135er. And I didn't see a crazy difference in size, you know?
Yeah, for sure. No, yeah. But now
Um,
he's 3-0 now in bantamweight, and look at his last three fights: Rob Font, Cody Garbrandt, and now Chito Vera.
that's great. That's nice. This little hit list so far, so that's great. And it's like, as far as the height, man, it's like we could, there's a fight earlier in that card Saturday. It's like, so everyone Joel Alvarez fights that is small. It's like, you got to understand that certain guys at the weight are just bigger. And there's not, most guys at 135 aren't 5'8", 5'9", even 5'10", 5'11", like O'Malley.
Yeah,
Most guys at that weight are like 5'7", like right around that size. So it's like, if you're 5'5", you're right there. I don't think he's 5'5", but if that's what they have met, that's what he's at. So like a lot of these guys, the height doesn't really matter because being 2 or 3 inches shorter than someone, if you're looking at them face to face, there's not that much of a difference.
yeah,
So you can't to act like it's that much of a difference is ridiculous. It's more about the reach. So if you're 3 inches tall, then you have a 6 inch reach on me. I'm more concerned about the reach as opposed. I don't give a shit out. Like like you're 3 inches taller than me. Who cares?
Yeah, for sure.
It's
Yeah.
about the yeah. So some of it's deceiving, put it that way. But that fight, you know, maybe we had too high hopes for that fight. But I do agree, man. I wish there was a little more volume in that one.
Yeah, I think it was
You know,
mostly us hyping ourselves up for it
I think
more
we
than anything
did.
else.
I think we did.
Let's
And that's
get
okay.
on to the next one. Our boy, everyone's boy, Tony Ferguson, lost his. He broke a record for most or longest losing streak. He's now lost 8 in a row, and he lost the
It's
other
not the one
night
you
to
want. Yep.
Michael Chiesa, who
Who's no slouch, obviously.
yeah, who
Um,
did a great
he's
job.
he's an absolute beast, but it's like this is kind of like I think more it sucks because it's like it's gonna you feel like it's gonna take away from the win, but it's like this is kind of the example of how the reaction time. His reaction time fighting the hands was not good. That's
Yeah,
not Tony Ferguson.
yep,
Um,
I agree.
in Tony Ferguson's prime, you couldn't get that like that. Like I don't care who you are. I don't think that would have been. That's why we were so excited to see him and Habib in his prime because he was something different. He was dangerous off the back, the way he throws elbows. He could hurt you, he could cut you. But he was also someone who was really good jujitsu wise. He knew how to get out of things. Like he's also a good wrestler. He had good power. He
Yeah,
had a little bit of everything. He was weird. He was just weird. That's the type of guy that gives the guy who wants things the way he wants things. That's the guy that really throws things off. Because that guy's kind of cool wherever. He's just like, I'm gonna be weird wherever. So like wherever we're going, I'm throwing shit that people say is not the right thing to do, and so that's why he was always exciting because he was so technically good, but also so just like in the terms of like the skateboarding stances, like he was goofy.
yeah,
He was just whatever you did, he kind of did an opposite thing, and it wasn't bad. It was great. It was not what you were expecting, which was also good. But like I said, there's reactions. Like he didn't react to things well, especially with that choke. Like that, it seemed like that was not a normal um, reaction to that. Where
yeah.
you
It's
should have
not
knew
like
that was
him at all.
coming
Yeah,
with a guy like Chiesa. That's Michael Chiesa's bread and butter, and he's very good at it. So um, yeah, that it wasn't a good. I feel like it was more kind of alluding to the reaction time's not quite there for this level, um, which is the highest level. So there's no shame in it,
yeah.
But it's just you. I think we've kind of seen. Uh, unfortunately, I think we've seen a lot. It sucks, yeah, because I know
It's
we might see the
always
last of it because if he doesn't want to fight anywhere else.
yeah. It's always tough to watch a fighter overstay. You know, I guess overstay their welcome isn't probably the best way to say this, but like when you know it, they need to they need to bring themselves out of the sport, but they can't seem to do it on their own. It's really hard to I think Frankie Edgar fought a couple too many fights. Obviously
Yes,
Anderson, Chuck, a lot of
yeah,
these fighters they just stick around too long, and now I'm worried that Dustin Poirier is going to do it. Um,
yeah, might
yeah,
get dragged
BJ
into a couple
Penn,
more.
you know, um, it's hard to watch these guys because they're like they're fighters. They're never going to back down and submit to the passage of time or anything else for that
Nope,
matter. It's really hard for
nope,
these guys to like just hang it up. Like TJ Dillashaw is another one with all his injuries. He the last fight he had, he like it literally it had to slap him in the face to show that like his body couldn't keep up with his mind. You know what I mean? For him to leave. So I don't know. I love Tony
yeah.
Ferguson, always will, but yeah, that should be what's that?
Excuse me. Let me ask you a question. So, what do you think a guy like that should do? Because now, like physically, I still think Tony Ferguson can compete if he wants to. So what I think he needs to do is just have that conversation. Go, hey, listen, I can't compete at the UFC level, but I still think he could maybe compete with guys in the PFL. I really do. So if he wanted to, give it a shot. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But like, you can't fight guys in the UFC anymore.
Yeah.
The UFC is at a different level, and I'm not saying it like PFL doesn't have high level guys at all. I'm just saying there are no fights where you're like where there are true. The only ones you're really seeing, as far as the favorites being kind of like really weird for the most part, are like last minute fights or these outlier fights. But a lot of times it's going to be the fighters that are kind of on the out.
Yeah.
Like most of these fights you see are like they're either pick 'em or they're like it's like a 200 plus or minus, so it's like very close. Or like you're not seeing the only time you're seeing crazy ones are the outliers. They're like, oh, what about Bo Nick? I'm like, hey, outlier. Like that's the ones that are going to be this like crazy level where it shouldn't even be that, but you know why it is. It's all where the bettors put their money. So, um, but like I just don't see him competing in the UFC anymore.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think he should go get some money elsewhere and still fight. If he wants to continue fighting, I'm sure PFL will offer him a pretty sweet check, you know? Yeah.
Oh yeah, so yeah, you basically look at a guy like Ferguson. It's like I still think he can compete with a lot of guys. I just don't think it could be at the say the UFC level per se. So like we were talking about, you never know. Maybe you end up fighting somewhere else, and you win a few fights, you lose a couple, but they're all competitive fights. And I just think he can still hang with the best type of guys. But I think in the the highest at the highest level competition wise, where he's been fighting the top 15 at 155 for forever. So at some point that's going to show. Like we even said, like even like with as much as we love him, Dustin Poirier, you get to like I think he's smart, and that's why I think he knows he was probably pulling back. He probably is like, oh, I don't want to, do you want to really be the guy that's kind of figures it out in the middle that he's should be done? Like you'd rather kind of get out of there before anything like that happens. I think that's probably where Poirier's thinking. He's like he has everything he wants in his life. You have a family and everything. You have everything you created with what you just did. So it's like, what more is there for you, man?
Yeah.
So, um, you get it, but it's like the competition's still there, so you never know. But as far as a guy like Ferguson, I still think he can hang. I wish they wouldn't be like I'd only fight for the UFC because I'm like, you could also look at it like as the way we look at it. At certain level, you can't compete with these younger guys. The evolution of MMA is in constant evolution. So it's like you have just it's it's unreal the level of talent that you see now.
Yeah.
So to be able to hang is tough. These top 15s are going to look different in a couple of years, and they're going to look even more like there's going to be the names are going. It's going to be one of those things where it'll be like an NFL running back, where all these guys have their time for a year or 2, 3 years, and that's it. So you got to enjoy it while you can. It's going to be tough picking anything. I think that resembles like a goat or anything. I think these guys are the I just don't know what we're gonna see with the evolution. I'm excited
Yeah, it's
because
going to be crazy.
we've talked about the new names coming in, man. All these UFC debuts, these guys are like just absolutely ready to go. Don't gas. Don't show any weaknesses. Like it's crazy. So, but that's long-winded. I hope Tony Ferguson, if he wants to continue, hope he continues fighting. Just understand that it can't be at the UFC level because that's what held you to. That's the highest standard. So that's no shame to be like I'm in my 40s and I'm approaching 40. I need to if I want to still compete, I need to fight at a different organization
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for
if
sure.
need be. But I mean, he's done everything he needs to do. So as long as you're financially set, why would you even, you know, like,
Yeah.
You were the boogeyman for a long time, bro. Like in that division, that means something. So
Yeah, there's no shame in in stopping
oh,
now. That's for sure.
anyone that was paying attention knows
Yeah.
what you did for the sport, what you were. So
Well,
that's
I
all that
mean, just
matters.
listen to the fans chanting Tony after his fight. You know, like he's done a lot, man. He's changed. Yeah, he's got a lot of fans out there, and no matter what he does and where he goes, if he goes somewhere else, if he has another fight here or there, whatever, people will tune in just because it's him. So, and they want it.
For
Everyone
sure.
wants to see him win. It's just tough to, he's just not.
At this level,
It's not
man.
the same. Yeah, but let's get on to the. We got a couple more. Mackenzie Dern and Lupe Godinez. What did you think of that one?
That was a good fight. For me, it was more like we had talked about it too. It's like I feel like Dern's really rounded out her skill set so much so where she's not really someone you can pick on now.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
as far as what she like I feel like a lot of times she she was a good example of it, but a lot of times the jujitsu guys they never really round out they never like fully confident in all aspects of their stand up. So you could kind of see if it starts to snowball on them, they don't really like they just don't really know what the parachute is for it because you can't just pull guard because then it's different. It's different MMA. It's like such a different thing. So that's gonna be terrifying, dude. It's gonna be terrifying to be like exhausted or just this like this person is just like even if they don't even land, you listen to the shots, you hear them go by your head. You're like Jesus Christ. Like if you're fighting a striker and you're not used to that, that's got to be crazy, dude. I always I always think about that when I watch those fights.
Well, that reminds
Like
me
what
of
that must be like
that
to
reminds
miss it.
me of another fight from the prelims. The actual the headliner of the prelims, that
Yes,
Mirzakhanov guy. That dude throws
he's good,
heavy,
isn't he, dude?
heavy
Yeah,
hands. He kind
yeah.
of got a little gas towards the end though, but that dude can
You can, yeah.
crack.
Oh my God, yeah. That is, and that's yeah. He he throws everything with intention, and a lot of times he's not even really out of position when he does so. So like he's just a good striker. Like he doesn't seem like he's a lot of guys like you can't blame certain guys if they're trying to like just get that shot off and they might be in not the best position, but they're just trying to throw it. Like he seems like he's always where he needs to be and to throw the best possible shot for that that particular angle, stance, how whatever you want to call it. But um, that's why I like. Man, I'm a big fan of Minifield. He's a tough out for a
Yeah.
lot of guys, and I just knew that was gonna be a tough fight for him because that dude is the real deal. So I don't know. I don't know what's next for him. I don't know, but I mean, yeah,
He should
he's something
definitely
else.
go for top 10 because he was ranked 14, I think.
Got to be up there now, right?
Yeah, so he should be going for a top 10 next, I would
Was
think.
Menifield was Menifield ranked
15, yeah.
15? Okay, so he's gonna crack 15 now. Okay,
Yeah.
that would make sense. Yeah, what does the division look like for him? Was he at light heavyweight?
Light
What is it?
heavyweight.
What is it like for 205, Jim? What's right around like 7 to 12, if you don't mind
All
me.
right. I got it up.
It's
Light
perfect.
heavyweight. So he was 14. So with that, so like 10 is Ulberg, Carlos Ulberg, Johnny Walker's at 9, Roundtree's at 8, Ozdemir's at 7. So yeah, Anthony Smith's at 11. That might be a good one for him.
Okay, I like
Yeah,
that one. Nothing necessarily jumped out right away, but I would not. Now that you said it, I don't know if Ustamir has a dance partner yet, but I would not mind that fight. That would be cool. Ustamir and this dude,
yeah.
my homeboy Azamat, because I told you that's a Borat reference. Some people, some people will get it, dude. But it's also easier than pronouncing his last name. So
Yes, yeah.
that's what I do. But was it Mirzakhanov? Mirzakhanov?
Mirzakhanov, something like that. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, took the can open. Yeah, can opener off. Yep. Um, he's a beast, dude.
Yeah,
What's his height? I'm
his
trying to see. Let me
height.
check it real quick. 5'10". Okay, so I knew he's a smaller. You can kind of tell in his like he's a smaller 205er. Um, but I wonder. I know it's way looking ahead, but I wonder how he matches up with a guy like Pajeda. If they ever, if that's what you got to look at. Unfortunately, that's the guy that's at the top of your division, fella. So, but I don't know. I feel like that lower stature, that lower stance. I feel like the only thing you got to really watch out for, but you got to watch out with anyone who fights him would be like head kicks.
Oh yeah,
Um,
for sure.
but as far as possibly the punches, they could be at certain angles and shots that maybe they won't present themselves as easily if you're like a tighter 5'10" guy who's in tight. I feel like that's how Tyson benefited a lot, where he was very in tight and he wasn't easy to hit clean, as opposed to a bigger guy that's more on the outside like you are, and then you just it's a collision. You just catch him.
Yeah, for
But
sure. Yeah.
it'll
But
be interesting to see, man.
yeah,
He's definitely someone to keep an eye out for sure.
yeah, I like him a lot.
100%.
I like him a lot.
Yeah.
Um, the one big fight I wanted to talk about was Yoel Alvarez looked amazing.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
dude is unbelievable. He's really good, and I think Elvis Brenner had never been stopped. I think that was his first time being stopped, right? And Brenner's great. He's a great fighter, but Alvarez was just he reminded me he fights a lot like Pereira. I texted you that. Like his stance,
Yes.
how he
Yep.
comes in basically straight up and he's got a wide base and he's just looking for his shots. And he was very patient. He was just looking for his shots. He was a sniper. He hit Brenner with everything he threw pretty much. And Brenner was just kind of trying to just circle out and get a position. He hit him a couple times, but Joel Alvarez, man, is dude, I'm going to be watching him for sure. And he's another
Oh,
Spain guy. So if they go to Spain, if Ilya happens to win this
that's
fight
your co-main
against,
event right
yeah,
there.
there you go. That'd be amazing. That'd be awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. 100%.
And
No,
him and
yeah,
Azamat both won performance bonuses.
as they should have,
Yep.
because they stood out, especially because of the strength of competition. Like Menafield, absolutely no slouch. Been in UFC, he's been on his fair side of winning. And L's better, not as much as Menafield, I don't think, but he's been in the UFC, has won fights. He's a dangerous lightweight. So like both of those guys are dangerous fighters.
Yeah.
So for those guys to go out and do that against that type of, that's what it's not really the same thing, and it's not to say the UFC had like cans walking around, but like there's a different level of fighting. So like it would show evident when the certain guys, if they were matched up poorly, it would show. But there really aren't that many guys out there anymore that are at a like I feel like any of these guys are like you don't have to even say champions. Like a lot of these guys are top 15 guys any given night. So
Yeah.
any given night they could beat one of these guys.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So there are so many of those, that I think you could never say that back in the day, because it kind of it didn't mean you knew what was going to happen, because anything can happen in a fight. There's a lot of equalizers. Guys get cut, guys get caught, they get rocked by a shot. It changes the complexion of the fight. There's so many things that can happen. Um, but as far as like you knew when certain matchups happen, like the people that were in the know of it, like not saying us at all, but people that are in the know of it, like, oh, that's not a good matchup for. Like it was like what they talked about with the people with Anderson Silva and Lieben. They're like, oh, you just like it's no slouch on it's no disrespect on Lieben. You just don't know what you're about to see right now.
Yeah.
And a lot of people had no idea who Anderson Silva was, so they're like, okay. It's like I'll watch Ultimate Fighter. I watch Chris Lieben. He could take any shot. And you see a guy like Anderson Silva come along, and it's like, okay, so we're doing something different now, because no one did it like him.
Yeah.
no one made me more excited for fights than him, dude. I'm
Oh,
telling you.
yeah, he was the best.
For like live, like the live moment, you were like, you don't know, you didn't know what was gonna happen. Like it was crazy. Like you just like that would that's why GSP is my favorite fighter. Still pound for pound, like of all time, just body of work, the way he did it, how he did it. Um, that's still the guy, but because more so like what you knew you're gonna see, you're gonna more see more like domination, complete neutralization of whatever one the best part of someone's skills that he just neutralized it, and then he would just take you where you're weak and expose it. So it was just I thought that was like that's the perfect way for war. It's the perfect way for fighting. I'm just gonna take you where you just don't know what you're doing as much,
Yeah.
and just expose you, and like that's why would I do anything different? Like I don't get the oh, you want me to take you where you're strong? I think like eventually
Yeah, it's like I
that's
thought
the
I
whole
thought I
thing.
was supposed to win this fight. So I'm gonna
Yeah, that
take
could
you where you're
be
weakest.
John Jones's demise. Don't take Tom Aspinall where he's strongest. I'll just say that. Like that's not that's not advisable. Like that's not something that can work through and through, in my opinion. But you never know. We've seen someone like John Jones do whatever the hell he wants to people, so that fight could look so crazy. And they're
Yeah.
like, whoa, all right. I don't know. I don't even know. But but I forgot what I was even going with that one.
No, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. Basically, Yoel Alvarez and how he fights. If he's gonna end up like one of those guys, he just looked so good. He looked like he could do whatever he wanted to Brenner, and Brenner didn't have an answer for it.
He's
Um,
6'3", a
yeah,
big
six
lightweight.
three
That's a
lightweight.
dude.
Yeah,
That's
it's just crazy. But let's talk about a couple prelims that I
and you
think are
figure.
notable. Sorry, what?
Sorry, his only loss in the last 5 years was to Armin Sharukian. So it's like,
Oh, really?
you know,
Huh?
yeah, yeah. He had I think he got stopped by Sharukian. So that'd be like that's another one. Phenomenal fight. Like
Yeah, that'd be great.
if like let's just say Sharukian, let's just say he beats Islam. So he's the belt holder. Wow. So maybe Alvarez might be that might fight mate. That that's great
Yeah,
if
that
they
would
end
make
up
sense.
meeting.
Yeah.
Or even if Sharukian loses. And if Sharukian loses, you could have a title eliminator
Yeah.
between Alvarez trying to get up there and Sharukian trying to stay up there. So it's like there's so much you could do.
Well, and we also to tie off that bow there. Like the nice thing about lightweight, and we talked about this when Patty won. There's so many great fights in that division for him. So many. Sarukian's just one of them.
Yep.
But like, I would love to see him fight anyone in the top 15, and I'd be happy. Like we went over the rankings for Patty, but we might as well just run through it real quick again.
Please do. Please, yeah.
So Patty's at 15 now. Rafael Dos Anjos, Jalen Turner, Benoit Saint Denis, Dan Hooker, Moicano, Max Holloway, Fazeev, Dariush, Chandler, Gamrot, Poirier, Gaethje, Oliveira, and Charukian. Any one of them, I'd love to see Alvarez fight.
Yes, true.
That'd be just
Now
great.
playing
Oh,
matchmaker. Now, okay, now playing matchmaker. So Alvarez is not ranked yet. Okay, so
so you'd have to give him what
maybe 10
13
to
through
15,
15? Yeah,
right
12 to
around there.
15.
Okay, so we're thinking about the same. So
Well,
what are those names again?
I think you mentioned last time Jalen Turner. He's
That's a
13.
good matchup, huh? Why
Yeah,
not? That fight makes sense.
that'd be
Two
fun.
big. You get to see two guys that are 6'3" at 155. You might never see that fight again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I actually think that makes the most sense.
I like that fight, Jim.
And they have
That's a
they
good
have a
match
very
make right away.
similar fighting style and similar heights. I don't know what the reach difference would be, but I'm sure it's probably close.
I'll take Alvarez by sub.
Ooh, that's a good pick. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Let's
I
but
kind of hope they make that fight. That's a good fight, Jim.
yeah.
Well done, sir.
But let's
Right away, he's like, boom.
let's mention a couple of these other prelims that I think
Yeah,
are
sure.
notable. First of all, huge win for Sam Hughes against an undefeated Victoria Dudikova.
Was, yep.
Sam Hughes, man,
outright won.
Yeah, outright won.
Won the what, second and third, was it?
Yeah.
Like I think Dudikov only won the first round, right?
I think so, yeah.
At least in my when I like I said, Jim, prelims I was fresh, baby, but by the last couple of fights I was a little impaired because of other things that it's a weekend, get up my back, but but no, she looked great, dude.
Yeah,
I had her winning 2 and 3.
And she looked so pumped. She knew it was a big win for her, obviously. And then our boy in the suit jacket, Jordan Epidemic Vucenic, he lost pretty. And I texted you during this because his corner told them he was up 2-0, and he definitely wasn't. He definitely was not up to. It was 1-1 going into the third, and he fought like he was up 2-0.
Yeah, I don't like. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you're trying to do confidence-wise. You are so stupid if you're just doing it for confidence, where as opposed to you're changing the way they approach the fight.
Yeah.
So now he's passive. Now he's reactionary, as opposed to having to go get it, which you should have told him. Like, even if you thought it was if you honestly thought it was 2-0, you're out of your mind if you thought that fight was either way 2-0. I thought it was a pretty even fight.
Yeah, no, there was no way it was 2-0.
It was back and forth. So, like, if you're going to do that, if you're going to say it's 2-0, go, hey, I think you're up 2-0. Let's approach this 1-1. Like, at least give your fighter the perspective that this fight could be even, because it was. Otherwise, what are you even doing there? Like, if you can't objectively call the round and then tell him, he needs you for that. He needs you for that.
Yeah, and like I was going to say, also, even if that's the case, it's your first fight in UFC. Don't leave it up to the judges. Go get the victory. Show that you belong here. Get a finish.
And they didn't say that, did they? The corner didn't say that at all. So
no, this is you want to make an impact. First impressions actually do matter, especially against a guy who's Kutata. How do you say that? Kutataladze. He's a great fighter. If you can put him away in the third round, and it's not that Vucenic actually looked pretty good. He did. He looked good. And I think if he kept fighting the way he was in the first 2 rounds, I mean, we might be talking about something different. But
it's like, I'll just tell you how good Kuchelave has a split decision victory off Gamrot.
Yeah, you mentioned
so he's
that
like,
the other day.
He's right there, dude. Like, the talent's there with him.
Yeah, if you can finish a guy like that.
Yeah.
Come on.
So I wish I don't know if it's a one shot thing. I don't know what's up with the corner, but that's like, I mean, you need to address that. That's not like, if you're going to be a championship level fighter, I think all these guys need to get an absolute objective scoring. And if you don't know, you need to say something like you said. And if you don't know, just go, hey, listen, don't worry about that. This is our UFC debut. Let's go make a splash. Let's go stop this guy. Say something like that. That's way better than just going, you're up 2-0, which means don't worry about nothing, dude. Just stay off just so he's thinking, oh, I'll just kind of just keep distance, keep a jab going, but I don't have to like really go and get it because I'm up 2-0. Just don't lose the fight.
Dude, and Dana's been saying it for 20 plus years. Don't leave it up to the judges. Like, if you can help it. Obviously, we're talking about
terrible advice.
It's UFC. You're talking about the strongest, most talented fighters in the world. But, it's easier said than done to go out there and finish people, especially in your UFC debut. But I don't know, man. Like, guns a-blazing.
It's better advice than saying you're up 2-0. Better advice than saying you're up 2-0. That's all I'm saying. So, and at least it gives you the ability to push the fight and maybe possibly. But I mean, that's worth saying, dude. That was like kind of out of that whole card. That was kind of a big moment as far as people that watched the whole card. That sucked to see, because as soon as you said it, the only reason why I didn't get a respond right away is because I was watching it with my dad and my brother, We were watching the fight, so we were all watching it. So I didn't get to respond right away. But as soon as I saw you write that, I was like, dude, he's so right. I hated that he said that. I hate when they say that.
And we've
Oh,
talked
you're up
about
there.
it many times.
Like,
It happens at least once a card. Someone does that.
I hate it.
We've beat a dead
hate
horse with that. But the
Terrible.
other fight,
It's terrible for your fighter.
yeah, the other fighter I wanted to mention because he absolutely killed this dude's legs. Was Fernandez beat Yaya, and that dude's leg was horrible. Oh my god! Talk about calf kicks, man. Oof.
But I mean, talk about a guy who's come out of relatively nowhere. That's his second fight in UFC, and this dude. I mean, his first fight he lost his UFC debut against Takatse. So it's like Takatse's been a mainstay. Mark Takatse, you know the dude?
Yeah,
I think he's also from England.
Yeah.
Talk about he throws some crazy ass kicks. So I remember I knew the dude looked familiar. And I looked it up and I was like, okay, so his last fight was against Takatse and he lost a split decision, but it's like, so you got a guy who's been a mainstay in the UFC and, you know, I think an eye test is good on that. You saw him really show out in that fight. Like, dude, those leg kicks, man.
Dude, that guy, I want to see his leg today. Oh.
The leg kicks are number one.
Yeah.
You can punch my dumb head, I don't care. The leg kicks look like so not okay, dude. That would suck.
Yeah.
You know? Because you're watching it like, man, it's these guys are just like absolute snipers where it's like they're hitting literally the same spot every time they throw the leg kick. You're like, oh my god, it's crazy.
Well, you got to learn how to fight southpaw, I guess.
Oh
now,
boy, hey, but I think that'll be the counter for MMA. Honestly, I think you're going to see a ton of MMA fighters that are going to come up being just as good left hand, right hand power wise and like fluidity wise, because they know they're going to have to switch stances so many times. Yeah. Where their hands are going to be like kind of like we talked about Crawford being like where the left and the right are very equal. Like I think you can see that a lot more ambidextrous stances.
Yeah, for sure.
Which would be cool to see. I think that'll be the counter for these leg kicks.
Yeah, you have to.
Going forward, yeah, you have to, dude.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you can't be that fighter who's only strong one stance now. Because a few leg kicks and then that changes the whole complexion. So it'd be kind of cool to see what happens, but I think that could be possible. Because O'Malley's there. O'Malley has certain.
Yep.
He doesn't have one shot that he switches stances for. He's pretty damn fluid. So he could be one of the. There's a few guys, but that was definitely the name I was going to mention on this card.
Yeah,
you did.
He looked great.
Yeah, very much. So I'm looking forward to see what's next for him because he's also at lightweight, Jim. So we're going to find out who's who pretty soon in this division because there are he's also Novo Uniao, Fernandez.
He's what?
Interesting, huh? Novo Uniao. That's where like what Hanan Barao was and.
Oh yeah, okay.
But yeah, that's the same gym, I think.
Oh, nice.
So that's cool.
All right,
see what's up with that.
Well, let's wrap this one up. We got a free fight night next week. Who's the main event here?
What's that? Looking forward. Barsin Burra
and Spivak.
I like it.
Big boys. So yeah, we got that to look forward to, and then the week after we got UFC 305 in Australia, Adesanya and Duplessis.
Oh my God.
We'll be talking about that soon enough. But yeah, thanks for talking, Dan, as always. For anybody listening, we appreciate your support. You can follow us on Instagram at Pinnacle_combat. We also put all these episodes up on YouTube, which also has the same handle at Pinnacle_combat. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Dan. And
thank you, dude, as always.
Yeah, and we'll be back next week with another episode. So we'll see you then.
Yeah.
Peace.
Peace.